Hello, my name is Jimmy and welcome to the 2024 Kia EV9. This is very exciting as it is, well, Kia's first three-row electric SUV, and it's one of the more affordable options because a base price of 60,000 Canadian dollars. I know I say affordable, 60,000 is still quite a bit, but it's the cheapest three-row electric SUV you can get. The base, I mean, you only get 215 horsepower and 258 pound-feet of torque. I've never driven one, so I don't know exactly how quick or not quick that would be. As spec'd here, this is almost like 80,000 Canadian dollars, 78,995 before destination and all that stuff. So you're looking at like 83,000 Canadian dollars, but you do get dual motors, 435 kilometers range, 270 miles, a total of 379 horsepower, 516 pound-feet of torque from the dual 190 horsepower, 258 pound-feet of torque motors. All right, now that's a lot of specs thrown right at you, but let's see how it drives. Let's go on the road and actually feel it. As with most EVs, it's plenty quick. It's about 2 seconds faster to highway speeds than a Telluride. I mean, do you really need that kind of speed in a three-row SUV? Probably not, but it's readily available for you if you need to pass someone. Yep, just floor it and it'll go. You don't really have to think too much about it. It can tow 5,000 pounds, which is the same as the Telluride, but I'm sure it's going to be, well, a little bit quicker than a Telluride to get up to speed. Range will definitely suffer, let's be honest. It's not going to be designed for the long haul, but I think it's okay. For this kind of almost first generation three-row electric SUV, it has sufficient amount of range for what it is, and I think the way that it drives, it's going to fit like 90% of all buyers. However, that 10% of you that want just a little bit more flair, something that's a little bit more sporty, that's where the EV9 falls apart a little. The suspension, it's super comfortable. It's a very lofty, luxurious feel to it, which, like I said, for 90% of drivers, gonna be fine. It's gonna be comfortable. You don't have to worry about anything. It's just, well, a very pleasant place to be. However, for the 10% of you that's gonna be living on a mountain range or driving a little bit more aggressively, and you'll feel that the suspension is just a little too soft. It wallows quite a bit. There's a decent amount of side-to-side motion as well. I'll try to capture it on camera however I can, but in a corner, it just doesn't feel as planted as I like. The speed of this vehicle that it can like accelerate suggests it should be sportier. But it's not supposed to be because it's just a family three-row SUV. And this is just the GT line. This isn't like the full-fat GT. This isn't going to be their sporty model. There may be an EV9 GT that's going to come out later, and that may have a better suspension setup for, well, those who want that. But it's just missing that little bit. But let me tell you more about the driving characteristics just a little bit later on. Let me talk a little bit about styling because the EV9 stands out, especially in this blue. You got beautiful headlamps in front, and you got some really funky daytime running lights in the middle as well. What's kind of weird is you can buy additional options in Kia Connect. So yeah, there's a paywall that it's hiding behind, which is absurd to me for some lighting, but I think for a lot of people, they won't care. So I guess it's okay. It's not like a feature that you need. It's just one of those nice to have kind of things. Being a GT line, you do get different front bumpers, and the side we got 21-inch wheels, which are actually decently massive. And I kind of like the square design. It reminds me of the Mini. If you get the base 19s, they're kind of like ninja throwing star looking things. And then the 21-inch, they're a hexagon or triangle pattern thing. It's quite weird, but I like it. I like weird wheels like that. On the overall side though, it is still your typical box on box shape. There's nothing too crazy about it other than being an electric vehicle, they have to have some crazy door handles. They do pop out. But what I do like is, well, for Kias, you can walk up to the vehicle and it will automatically unlock for you. So the door handles automatically pop out. And there are push sensors or touch sensors on the front doors for you to lock them. Unfortunately, there is not a walk away and lock feature, which I do really miss. Moving around back, beautiful LED tail lamps. This stacked tail lamp kind of reminds me of like Volvo or CRV kind of look. I like that. If we open up the trunk, we get 20 cubic feet of space, which is more than plenty for some. Yes, you do get a frunk that's like 1.4 cubic feet or so. It's honestly not the biggest, and you're probably not throwing much in there other than cables, but it's fine. You do get a little bit of underfloor storage, but really not that much space. Everything is going to go behind that third row. And if you fold that third row down, you get 43.5 cubic feet, which isn't bad at all for people that's going to be using just the first two rows. Being the top trim here, I do get captain seats in the second row. And if you've been following me, you know exactly how I feel about captain seats in the second row. I'm not going to argue. I know for some people you love captain seats, and I know some of you love benches. I'm a bench guy, so there's that. Anyway, what's nice is on the top trim here, we do have electronically foldable third as well as second row. So there's buttons right on the side here for you to fold all of them down so you can carry long items, or even use the rear as a camping solution. And they have thought of that, because on the driver's side here, there's this button where you can press and hold to close the tailgate. And the only reason I can think of that is if you're inside the cabin and you want to close that tailgate down so you can get a night's rest or whatever, you don't have to climb out and press that button to close it or find the key fob. This button just makes things a little bit easier for you to close that tailgate. And I think that's why that's there. Could be wrong. Could be for other reasons. All right, let's get inside the EV9. Getting into the third row, as this has the captain seat version, I can slide through the center, or have patience as the second row slowly moves up front here, and then you can get in. There we are. All right, the third row. I'm 5'11", and I fit. The rear seat isn't like on the floor, so it's actually decently comfortable for your knees, except if you move the second row all the way back as I have right now, it's a little tight. You can definitely sacrifice a little bit of second row legroom for whoever's going to be back here. Honestly, it's pretty good. I can even lean this further back. I got USB charge points on the side. Vents are on the top. Nothing to complain about back here, really. It's very, very bearable for, well, this size of three-row SUV. But let's move up front. As for the second row, I'm 5'11". Headroom, legroom, both are really good. And I can't sacrifice more legroom from the third row space by pushing it all the way back. But there is a party trick. Let me show you. Rest or lounge mode. I'm 5'11", and I'm like right against the front seat. This is as far back as my seat would go. So, I mean, while I would say is definitely comfortable, you can't be that tall back here to enjoy this. And if you're on the driver's side, no one is getting into the driver's seat if you're doing this. But the seats, well, they're heated, they're cooled, and I got shades on the side. So it's perfect for your kiddos. And speaking of kiddos, if you're going to be fitting child seats in here, I am a child passenger safety technician. On the driver's side, this is a collect link. Getting your child seat in here was not a problem. The opening is nice and large, so you can easily glide the infant carrier in here with absolutely no issues. As for the passenger side, this is a collect FIMF in rear facing. This is what my child's currently in. Once again, no issues at all. Height, width, all that was good. And myself at 5'11", I'm still able to sit in front of a rear facing seat with no issues. There's plenty of space. As for the third row, I wasn't able to fit any rear-facing seats back here, but a forward-facing or a booster like this Collect Uber does fit with absolutely no issues. In terms of lower anchors, there's actually 4 sets in total, 2 in the back and 2 in the middle row here, and there's also 4 sets of upper anchors in the same positions. The only thing I would say from making this the perfect family vehicle is a camera right here, so whoever's in the front can see the little kiddos in the back. But that's really it. As for the front seats here, they're very, very comfortable. Being the top trim here, I have heated, cooled, as well as ergo motion. Not to be confused with massaging seats, as these just kind of shift you around a little bit. But I do get active bolsters, and putting it into sport mode does hug me a little bit, and I do like that. The seat material is actually really nice and soft, and all 4 seats you do get that rest mode or lounge mode option. In front of me is a squircle, like a square circle, because the only reason why they did this is so that you can have a full display, well, behind and still be relatively legible. Now, the cluster, I can see perfectly. Infotainment, also perfectly. But there's this 5-inch display for your climate control where you do have to shift your head to the right to see or to control. For most, that's not going to be a problem, but it's like you do have to shift over. But I appreciate them for putting it in. You can have your climate control on the main screen as well, so it's really not a big deal, but you just have to do this every now and then. Anytime you're going for, well, the screen of your climate control. But you do get like your temperature and fan controls in the middle, which, let's be honest, those are the important ones anyways, and those are very easily accessible. The cluster is okay customizable. There's different themes that's on there. You do get a heads-up display, but I do want to say I love the new infotainment. The software is very similar to the previous, so there's no like new learning curve if you've been in a Hyundai or Kia product. But I do like just how quick it is, as well as wireless CarPlay. And because my phone fits very nicely right here on the rubber Qi charger, my phone's not shifting around. It's constantly on the charger. I don't have to worry about it, well, ever running out of charge when it's on a wireless charger. It's smart like that. But sadly, there's only a single one here. Kind of wish they had 2. Overall, in terms of the materials, just ergonomically, everything in here feels really, really good. Yeah, there's some touch buttons right here, but they're, well, few and far in between. There's only 6 buttons here, so I mean, you're not going to be pressing them all that often. Most of the information you're going through the screen, and if you're like myself, you're in CarPlay most of the time, that's going to be fine. All right, let's go back to how it drives. As I'm on the highway right now, I do want to highlight, well, the lane keep assist as well as the adaptive cruise control. They have highway driving assist built in as well, and all of that, because it is a Hyundai Kia Genesis product, it just works really, really well. You set your speed and you're basically hands off, as I've been doing. You don't really need to tug the steering wheel all too often, maybe now and then, but especially on this straight piece of highway here, minimal input required. And it does have like the lane change ability as well, so you can flick on your turn signals and it can change between lanes. Speaking of flicking on your turn signals, like a lot of Hyundai, Kia, and Genesis products, you can see your 360 camera, or at least what's in your blind spot on the cluster. Do like that feature. It's better than the older ones, as the view is much better now, so you can actually see further back. But because it is a camera, sometimes it's still a little bit hard to judge distances. That's really the only thing. As I mentioned, for 90% of you that's going to be driving this, you're going to love how it rides. It's soft, it's comfortable, it's everything you need in a family SUV. But the 10% of you, let me show you in this corner. If you take things a little quicker, it's a it's just a little soft. I'm not exaggerating my head movement there. That's That's just how much you move within this vehicle. And that's just the only complaint. And that was relatively quicker than you normally would take a corner in a family 3-row SUV. And that's really it. That's really the only negative about it. It's a really, really great vehicle. And for a 3-row SUV, it's very compelling. I wouldn't pick this, the $80,000 version. You got to split that difference. Get the bigger battery. It's worth it at the end, and it also comes with a heat pump. So that's one up. And if you need all-wheel drive, step up one more. At least here in Canada, that's how the range works. I know in the US and other countries and whatnot, it's different, but that's where you want to step to. That's where that sweet spot is. Sure, you don't get some of the cooler stuff like the lighting features and the seats and, well, some other things, but even the base model gets you heated and cooled seats. Base model gets you a full digital screen here. So for most of the things that you would want to need, it's perfect. In any case, thank you so much for watching this video. Like the video if you do, subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll catch you next time. Take care.